Okay. Well, as far as whether we're dealing with the reset, whether we're dealing with 5G technology, whether we're dealing with the different levels of consciousness, whether we're dealing with um, police terrorism as well, all of those things are fear-based, and I want people to understand that. So right now, what you're dealing with is a massive PsyOps program, psychological operations. These are military and government programs, and these programs create fear-based programming as well as emotional programming, and they're running them through primarily the media. So you have media programming, media manipulation, and things of that nature. Corporately sponsored media, mostly. So that's something that you have to understand and take into consideration. So now when we deal with the technology piece, artificial intelligence, the many different aspects of it, whether you're looking at transhumanism, whether you're looking at the singularity, whether you're looking at the different technologies, 5G technology, 6G technology, 7G technology.
Right, and let me know for a while here, Brother Sadiq, if you could break down just a little bit on each one of them, because we always get new listeners, and some of the things you're talking about is the first time that they're hearing about these terms. So if you just a thumbnail sketch of each one of them,
no problem.
Appreciate it.
All right, artificial intelligence. Let's start there. Artificial intelligence primarily is simply what it states. It is a inorganic artificial form of a organic or primordial intelligence. The organic intelligence would be every person that's listening to this show. You have what's called organic intelligence, all right, or primordial intelligence. It's an intelligence that is innate. It is embedded in you versus artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an intelligence that is one way or another, it is mimicking you. It is mimicking your different forms of intelligence. All right, that's artificial intelligence. It's synthetic. It's inorganic. Its attempt is to augment intelligence, and what they mean by augment is to further advance or a more advanced form of that original intelligence. All right, that's artificial intelligence. All right. Now, when we deal with transhumanism is the merging of these two paradigms of intelligence, all right? Organic intelligence and inorganic intelligence, all right? So transhumanism is the merging of man and machine, all right? You interface with digital phones, televisions, computers, and the many other different types of AI and technology that you interface with. That is a lower level or lower state form of transhumanism. All right, it's levels, just so we're clear. You get to the level of transhumanism where you have the blending of you biologically. All right, so that could be body parts and things of that nature. Some type of impeding of your body. All right, that can get into chips and things of that nature as well. So that is transhumanism. Now, the purpose or point of transhumanism primarily is, there's many reasons, but one is to create this notion of immortality, because we're clear that there's people on this planet, mainly white people, obviously, who have a negative birth rate. So they are looking at means through science to be able to live and be immortal. All right. So that's that piece. So when we get into 5G technology, this is going to get very interesting. All right. 5G technology exists right now. There's infrastructures as well as they are building the main infrastructure for 5G technology. So 5G technology primarily is going to merge over 2,000 different types of technologies, and they're going to run through the 5G infrastructure or the 5G grid. All right, so that's 5G technology. So it's a super advancement of what we were used to, which was 4G, which is prior to 5G. All right. So that is 5G. So 5G, we know we're dealing with the time frame of right now to 2025, and then we get into 6G. All right. Now, 6G, there is no infrastructure. However, the technology itself, we understand that the technology exists as far as the wireless speed and things of that nature. That already exists. All right. So with 6G technology, there's going to be some very interesting things. So 6G primarily is going to take 5G to the next level. So we're talking 2025, all right, to 2030 in that range. So what 6G is going to do is it'll be able to connect machines beyond 5G and its connection, as well as you start dealing more with virtual reality. So next generation virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual environment, those types of things. So now we're talking about you being able to be in more than one place at one time, all right, based on this type of virtual reality interface. And virtual reality is just an artificial, intelligent, or inorganic form of your imagination. All right. So they definitely want to get you tapped into the virtual world so you're not tapped into the most powerful organic world of your imagination. All right. Before you had the internet, you had your imagination. Before you had the internet, you had the cosmos. So these are things that we have to understand. Before you had the internet, you had your intuition. All right. So the internet is simply mimicking and is an artificial intelligent form of the true archetypal primordial power, which is you. All right. That needs to be made clear. So we're talking about tons and tons of devices being connected. Research is saying 400 to 500 billion different types of devices being able to be connected through the 6G infrastructure, as well as they're talking about advanced communication, an advanced communication research center through Samsung. All right. So again, that's 25, 2030. Where are we at as far as commercial, Paul?
Oh, keep going. We got some time. We got a couple more minutes.
Next we go to 7G. 7G, we're talking about 2030 to 2045. So now we're getting into this time of the singularity. All right. So the singularity is when artificial intelligence is predicted to supersede human intelligence. Now, that won't happen, but that is the premise of Western science. All right. And that is reported to be anywhere between 2030 to 2100. Most researchers and scientists are pretty consistent with the year 2040 to 2045. Okay. So that takes us into 7G and 8G. So you see this parallel taking place. So we get to 7G technology, and with 7G technology, this is when the technology is more space-oriented, all right, dealing with global navigation systems and things of that nature. Again, this is expected 2035, 2040, satellite communication systems and things of that nature. So that's what we see happening. So basically, as we go into the next G, each G is predicted to be more advanced than the prior technology that existed before it. All right. So that's breaking down that. But 5G, what really needs to be understood, the 5G is a parallel to 5D. 5D is fifth dimensional consciousness. All right. The purpose of 5G is to deter people from aligning with 5D consciousness. 5D consciousness is about spirituality. That is the true reset, all right, from a spiritual perspective. That is the reset that we really need to be more concerned with, all right, is that reset dealing with fifth dimensional consciousness. Now, I mentioned fear earlier. What's happening is the fear-based programming is keeping people in 3D consciousness or third dimensional consciousness. All right? That is important to understand. This system is able to do what it does because the majority of people are in 3D consciousness. They're operating off of fear. They're operating off of programming. They're operating off of low self-esteem. They're operating off of self-hate. They're operating off of lack of confidence. They're operating off of insecurities. They're operating off of emotional programming.
Right. Hold that thought right there because we're going to take a short break. Folks, you want to join us? Reach out to us at 800. Potatoes, folks. Our guest is futuristic researcher. His name is Sadiq Bakar. He's breaking down the world of artificial intelligence, IA, the different aspects of it, and how it relates to what we're going through right now because we've been under attack. Of course, we're referring to the latest shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So, Brother Sadiq, I'm going to let you finish your thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just breaking down 3D, all right? When you deal with third dimensional consciousness, you are dealing with artificial intelligence. You're dealing with technology. You're dealing with all of those things that are not spiritually grounded, all right, or spiritually manifesting. And that's what we have to understand and be clear of. This is why the news is on 24/7, all right? This is why they're pushing the fear-based programming 24/7. The coronavirus or COVID-19, 24/7. Okay, this is why they are pushing that fear. The police terrorism is taking place. All of these things to keep you in a mindset of victimization, in a mindset of lack, in a mindset of things that are not conducive to you living in divinity or you living in your God state or being able to create in the so-called God state or manifest in that God state. So this is why we see a lot of talking and less action, all right? Because action and that orientation is not third dimensional, all right? That's a fifth dimensional consciousness when you start talking about action and manifestation and things of that nature. So let me break down these dimensions so people can be clear. We already broke down third dimension, all right? This is mainly what we're seeing. People operating out of fear. You see the emotionalism. You see the depression. You see the anxiety. You see the stress. That is third dimension. People are not going to get things done that way. This system understands that. Now, in order to deal with a system, you have to have a system, all right? I've created a system specifically for that. Now, let's go to 4D. 4D consciousness, all right, or fourth dimensional consciousness. Now, 4D is for those who are seeking, all right, those who want to give up the old paradigms, those 3D paradigms, right, old belief systems, certain religions and other types of belief systems that was given to you externally versus you understanding who and what you are, all right? Let's be very clear about that. So that's 4D. Now you're coming into a higher level of consciousness where now you're questioning things more. You're thinking critically and analytically. You're not in cognitive dissonance. You're not in Stockholm syndrome and all of those different types of mental issues, menticide, and all of those different things that keeps people stagnated, in stagnation, all right? That's 4D. So 4D, again, now you're getting ready to be able to go to the next step, all right? These things take time. It's not an overnight process. 5D, fifth dimensional consciousness, all right, or the fifth dimension. Now, what are we dealing with? Now we are dealing with exactly what this system has spent billions of dollars and trillions of dollars to make sure you don't exist in that realm of existence, all right? Because when you're in 5D, you're dealing with authenticity. Now you don't have people walking around here as clones and trying to be somebody else and fans, all right, worshiping celebrities and worshiping athletes and all these other things, which is low vibration, low energy, low dimension. Authenticity. You understand the power of yourself and the power of your own greatness, the power of your own expression, the power of you as a being, and how to exhibit that power, how to manifest that power. That's 5D consciousness. Abundance. Now you're in a consciousness of abundance and not lack or poverty consciousness. You understand abundance. You understand how that operates and how it works. So now financially, we understand the type of things that we need to do in being self-determining and able to support ourselves and things of that nature without the support of the government and asking other people to do things for us and things of that nature. Knowledge. Fifth dimension is about knowledge, but most importantly, the application of that knowledge. So 5D is about implementation, application, execution, and manifestation. All right? Also, activation. So now, the most important parts of your beingness is being activated, whether that's cellularly, molecularly, your intuition, your imagination, your subconscious mind has now been rewired and upgraded, or you have created a new subconscious mind for your entire being to operate off of, as well as now we're dealing more with heart energy and things of that nature. All right. And divine connection. All right. Divine connection meaning your connection with yourself and your connection with the world around you, the universe, the cosmos, nature, things of that nature, our ancient sciences, those types of things. That is fifth dimensional consciousness. All right. Now that parallels 5G technology. The purpose of 5G technology, again, is to infuse you into that technology. Once you're infused in that technology, this is beyond what we've already experienced. This is what I want people to understand. Once you are infused in that technology, all right, the purpose is for you not to be able to execute, express, apply, manifest 5D consciousness. So the reset is two things. It's a dichotomy. The reset is what the system has in order for their vision. And then there is a reset in regards to the people. And I'm mainly talking about us because we will be the figureheads when we deal with this type of spirituality and this type of high-end consciousness. All right? So that is the quote-unquote battle, so to speak, that we need to really deal with. So the purpose is to keep us locked into all of these mundane things that's happening in third dimensional consciousness. Now, I'm doing my best to make this make sense for everyone because this is the real war. Now, they're having wars behind closed doors. That's none of our business. Our business needs to be our own empowerment, our transformation, and the application and manifestation of that. All right? That's the reset that we need to be concerned with. Now, we'll still get into the artificial intelligence and the things that's going on, the so-called this vaccine that's being said. One day it said it's going to happen. The next day it said it's not going to happen. One day it said, they'll make sure everyone gets it, even if it's troops that have to administer it. Then the next day it's it'll be a voluntary thing or involuntary thing. So we're going back and forth. And this is the point. The point is to confuse you. So be less focused on what they're doing or not doing, because most of the time they're lying anyway, because the purpose is to program you, all right, to keep you confused, to keep you in limbo. But what you can control is you. That's what you can control. And we have the methods and the means. We need a lot of subconscious mind work. We need a lot of fear and trauma work. We need a lot of work, but we know how to do that. So it's no more excuses. We know exactly what we need for us. It's going to take work, but we know exactly what we need to do. We know it works. We know it's efficient. We know it's effective. All right? And that is Empower Technology or the Empower Mastery System.
Right. Before you get to that, though, the 5G technology has been linked to the coronavirus. From your research, is there any truth to that? Because some people say it's not true. Some people say it's all, by accident. What are your thoughts? What does your research show?
People need to do more research and really understand that 5G is a bioweapon. And also understand that COVID-19 is a bioweapon. All right. COVID-19 or covert 19 has been tampered with in a laboratory, artificial intelligence. All right. People are dying because it was created for people to die. Now, we know the numbers are grossly exaggerated. All right. But we do know people are dying. Now, the question is, are they dying from COVID-19 or are they dying from what's called acute radiation syndrome? Okay? Acute radiation syndrome is linked to, obviously, radiation dealing with computers and things of that nature. Now, people think that, well, we've had 4G, we've had 3G. So, why all of a sudden now? Well, if you understand over time and how things hit a crescendo, and if you understand that 5G towers have been up for 20 or 30 years, then you understand. When you understand that there's research out here that documents entire towns that have had a 5G tower up, and people have had already many of the same symptoms that is related to COVID-19 or COVID-19. So those people have had other symptoms as well that cause cancer, tumors, and all kind of other, types of things. But as far as the bronchial problems and those types of things, we see that has been happening before COVID-19 or COVID-19. So now what you have is you have two bioweapons. So when people are coming in to the hospital, you don't know which one they're coming in for, because COVID-19 primarily is SARS, and SARS is
right. Hold that thought right there, Brother Siddiqui. I'll let you break it down on the other side. We've got to take a short break. Folks, you want to join this conversation, please listen keenly what Brother Siddiqui is saying, because you got to follow along and use his logic as well. Number to call again. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Brother Siddiqui Bakari. He's a futuristic researcher. He's giving us a breakdown on the latest in AI, artificial intelligence, and all the various aspects of it. Also, he's going to connect the dots so why we should be concerned about this global reset which we're going through, and how it affects us, all of us here, especially the attacks on us as black folks. Anyway, before we go back to Brother Siddiqui, just want to remind you, coming up in the next few days, you're going to hear from a holistic doctor and medical doctor, Dr. Lim, is giving us an update on COVID-19, the coronavirus. Also, world traveler, Dr. Ranoka Rashidi is going to be here. And Brother Zaki Baruti from the Universal African Peoples Organization is going to join us as well. So if you're in the DMV, keep your radio locked right here on 1450 WOL. So let's go back to Brother Siddiqui. Brother Siddiqui?
Yeah, so I was getting ready to get into SARS. I just want people to understand. I mentioned acute radiation syndrome, all right? Now, SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome. Your listeners can look this stuff up. You can research it, all right? Primarily, the symptoms are the same, and primarily you're dealing with the same issues, all right? So when you look at acute radiation syndrome, okay? When you look at that, what's happening is as you continue to get large amounts of radiation, all right, what happens is your cells begin to leak. And as your cells leak, what your cells is leaking is akin to mucus, or what would be called or considered mucus, all right? Now, where is this mucus going to go? This mucus is going to go probably in your bronchioles and other aspects of your body. Now, when you deal with SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, primarily you're dealing with the same thing. You're going to get the flu symptoms, all of those different types of things. You'll get with both of them, all right? So what's happening is people are coming in with acute radiation syndrome, and it's people who's dealing with it every day. Those flu numbers was high long before COVID-19. So what was causing those flu numbers that we were seeing, all right? So people have to pay attention to what's going on. You cannot be around digital phones and computers 24/7 and think that it is not having an adverse effect on your body, all right? Now, when we deal with 5G radiation, it's only going to get worse, and that is not to promote fear. That is for you to truly understand what's happening and what's taking place. And I definitely don't want people to be in fear, because even in dealing with COVID-19, we understand the numbers. The numbers are very low as far as people who are dying. The numbers are very less than 1% as far as those numbers. As far as the population, people who are supposedly getting this so-called virus, those numbers as well are low from a population standpoint, either below 1%, below 4%, whether, at least I'm here in California, is less than 0.1%. And if you're around the country or the world, it may be anywhere from 4% to lower. So this is not something that we should be fearing. We didn't fear the flu. We didn't fear pneumonia. We didn't fear all of these other so-called viruses. So why is it a pandemic when we deal with COVID-19 or COVID-19? Again, it's about fear. This is not to be not compassionate or empathetic to people who have lost loved ones. I'm not doing that, all right? Of course, I'm being empathetic to that and sympathetic to that, compassionate in regards to that. But the bottom line is, don't be mad at those of us who are dealing with this truth. Be upset with this system. Be upset with the government and what the government is intentionally doing. I'm going to say this, all right? And then I'm going to explain what I'm saying. This is a conspiracy when you deal with COVID-19 or COVID-19. Now, a conspiracy, people need to understand, a conspiracy does not mean something is true or falsehood. A conspiracy means that there is a group of individuals that have come together to lie, to manipulate, and to deceive the people. That is a conspiracy. Now, you have been manipulated, you have been lied to, and you have been deceived about COVID-19, about 5G, and listen. I've written out a list of at least 100 things historically that was a conspiracy. I'm talking about here in this country, all right? So be very clear what a conspiracy is, so you know what a conspiracy is. Also be very clear what a hoax is. A hoax does not mean that something did not happen or something is not true. That's not a hoax, all right? Now, a hoax simply is just a conspiracy on a whole nother level, all right? That's what you need to understand. We need to stop playing with these words and letting people define these words for us and making us think it's negative connotations to these words if we use these words. We got to know what these words mean and how to use these words and what's truly happening in our so-called reality. All right? So as far as that's concerned, the bottom line is take control of your health. Stop depending on the system. How come ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, CNBC, and everybody else, how come they are not promoting all day how to heal yourself? You ever ask yourself that question? Why aren't they talking about all the herbs that you can take to keep your so-called immune system up to par and powerful? How come they don't give you that information 24/7 like they give you the false death tolls, like to give you all the false information that they're intentionally giving you? See, that's cognitive dissonance. And we suffer from cognitive dissonance because we are in a third dimensional orientation. So we deal with belief systems. We deal with false information. We deal with manipulation. And we see it as truth. And we live our lives based on such. We see opinions as truth and live our lives based as such, instead of dealing with truth, because truth means you got to change something about yourself. Truth means you got to take action. When you hear truth, you have to do something. That's what that means. When you hear truth, you understand what this system is.
Well, let me jump in and ask you a question, Brother Siddiqui. Some people don't know the difference, though, because they don't do research. That somebody will tell them something, and they believe it instead of just,
Absolutely.
Googling and checking. And how do you deal with those folks? Because they believe everything they hear, and usually it's from
Right.
dubious sources, and they don't do any research. And I always tell people, everything you hear on this show, research it. Feel free to look it up. But there's a lot of stuff that floats around the internet, and they believe it is gospel. So how do you deal with those folks?
How do you deal with those folks? You don't. And let me make that clear. See, let's just get to the bottom line. There's a war going on, but most of our people don't seem to understand that it's a war going on. All right? Let's be very clear. You don't have time to stop and hold people's hand who's not ready. If they are not ready, and what I mean by ready is getting ready or ready. Now, to get ready, you have to make up your mind. If people have not made up their minds, there's nothing you can do for them. You can't convince them of anything. They have to have that wherewithal within themselves. So people who are stuck in cognitive dissonance, who are stuck in old belief systems, people who listen to the government and think that the government is serene, all right? Those type of people are doing nothing but holding us back. Those of us who get it together. That's what has to happen. Now, the person who I'm not holding my hand back for, once they come to the conclusion that something's not right, Brother Siddiqui, I got a question. Okay, I'll answer that question. Or Brother Siddiqui, how can I get involved in what you're doing? Okay, now I'm going to deal with that person because that person has made a decision. They have to first make the decision within themselves to understand that something has to change. Until they get there, you're wasting your time. Now, you understand this once you get into fifth dimensional consciousness. Okay? Because otherwise, you're going to get pulled right back into third dimensional consciousness, which is, again, victimization, fear-based programming, all of those different types of things. It's not about creation. It's not about manifestation. You're going to get pulled back into that. We don't have time to do that. We need to move forward with the ones who are ready. That's where we at. That's what the mission is, at least for me. Okay? That's what the mission is. I don't have time to babysit people, period. My children understand this, so I don't have time to babysit adults, period. We don't have time. We don't have time, Carl.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying because, we have a group of young brothers who they've started listening to us, and I'm glad they're still listening. And they've got a chat room, so what they do, they pump in the show in the chat room, and they have these discussions. And I mentioned this before because they wanted us to give them reasons why they shouldn't support Donald Trump or shouldn't vote. And I'm kind of like you. If you don't understand by now, I'm not telling you which way to vote, why you shouldn't. I think you should vote because you pay money, and it's your money. You should decide how your money's spent. Other than that, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for. Okay. But if you haven't figured that out by now, I don't think I can help you. And some of them were kind of upset by that because they wanted a conversation or a debate. And I said, nah, it's too late now. We don't have time for that. We're at a Harriet Tubman moment now. So if you haven't got it by now, I'm sorry, but I wish you well. So,
right.
Was I doing the right thing? Just help me out here, because I know they're still listening.
Well, for me, yes, coming from me, absolutely. Listen, people who are stuck in old paradigms and belief systems. Look, I'm not letting you off the hook for belief systems. I know people want to stay comfortable in their belief systems. They don't want to go outside of those belief systems and deal with anything outside of that. Again, because they don't have to do anything. They can stay comfortable in those belief systems, whether that's religion or whatever else it is, this educational system and all the other things that we become comfortable in, corporate America, all of these things. You love what's going on right now. Yeah, it's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do for that type of a person. They love what's happening right now, whether that's because of the programming, whether that's because of fear and them not wanting to take action. Because this is the thing, and listeners, don't think people don't know. Don't think people don't feel what's going on, especially our people. As spiritually connected and grounded as we are, despite the programming, it's still in us. We still feel it. We still have that in our DNA. So we feel things, but we don't listen, because that means we got to go against our belief systems or old paradigms. So we allow our conscious mind to control what's happening. or our subconscious mind, depending on how you want to look at that and break that down. All right. So it's a lot of fear going on, brother. It's people who know. People know all of this social distancing and social engineering. People understand that. People understand the purpose is so you're not interfacing with humans. You're interfacing with humans less, but you're interfacing now with the internet or just AI in general more. Because now where are the events taking place?
Well, let me ask you this. We'll come up on a break. Do you think things are going to change after the election? Because there's a lot of forces at play here coming in the election. And the main point is they just don't want black people to vote. That's why there's so much activity going, especially online. Do you think after whatever the outcome is after November, we'll settle back into normalcy and whatever that is? And I'll let you respond after the short break because we're closing in on the top of the hour. So some of our stations need to identify themselves down the line. Stations like 1450. Some are bold and some they've got some pay. After the election, will we see a difference?
Okay. First, let me say this. Whatever happens in the election or the selection, if there is one, just understand what they're doing is beyond an election. I'm not telling people to vote, not to vote. I'm not doing that. That's your own personal, whatever you choose to do. But what I'm making clear is that is not the determining factor. That is part of the theatrical play that's always been playing over and over again. Now, what's really going on behind closed doors, those are totally different conversations, all right? Now, what I am going to say is this. It will never be the same, and I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy that it will never be the same. Now, the question is, how will it be? Who will impose their will? Will it be the system or will it be the people? Because the people, first and foremost, we should want to create something different anyway, because what was already happening did not work for us. So this puts us in a position to actually change something based on our own spirit, our own reality, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the issue, though. The issue is because the majority of our people are in fear-based programming, that's an issue. Because those type of people don't take action. And when I say take action, I'm talking beyond, I'm talking beyond marching and those types of things. I'm not speaking against marching or ill of marching. But it's beyond that. That is another old paradigm that we continue to stay stuck in. That's third dimensional. Now we are maturing and we are evolving and we are ascending to a fifth dimensional consciousness for those who are ready. All right? That's where we are. So we have to understand that. We're not talking about what we did 50 years ago. We should be creating something right now that's going to move us forward. Now, what I'm doing, what my purpose is to assist people to get to that point, to get from 3D, those who make the decision, to 5G, and even 5D, and even beyond 5D, even if we start talking about six-dimensional consciousness, all right? That six-dimensional consciousness, that's a whole nother level, because now you fully understand your power, all right? Now, that's the reason the assassination program always existed for the Malcolms and the Martin and all of our people who were assassinated, because they understood that consciousness was not just for one person. That is a consciousness that can be collective with many, many individuals. They knew that, but we don't know that. So we worship one person or revere one person, and there's nothing wrong with the reverence. However, we have those same attributes within ourselves, but we're not willing in most cases to do the work to be able to manifest them, all right, or bring those things into fruition, all right? So right now is a pivotal time for us to expand, to grow, to create momentum, to look inside ourselves and turn ourselves inside out. That's what we're doing That's what the Empower system is doing. That's what my clients are doing. That's what my students are doing, turning themselves inside out and moving towards a greater consciousness. It takes work. It takes time. But it's the most important thing that we need to do. Also, if we look at the system, what does that fear-based consciousness do? What the fear-based consciousness do is it has the majority of people in the United States wearing a mask. What else does it do? It makes people think that the government is securing them, giving them security. In essence, the government is not giving you security. In essence, what the government is doing is creating an environment for cancer, creating an environment for many other types of health issues as far as wearing the mask. So these are things that people have to really look into and understand. What else does it do? So now, when they start talking about a vaccine, because of fear, people will think that they need the vaccine so they don't get the so-called covert or COVID-19, quote-unquote, virus. So people will be running, just like they're running to get tested. People will be running to get the vaccine. So what does that mean? The government doesn't have to force people to get the vaccine. Matter of fact, they would prefer that people just go on their own and accept it. And with fear-based programming and media manipulation and emotional programming, that's exactly what's going to happen with many people. So pay attention. The main thing to focus on is yourself. That is what you can control if you choose to take control. But in order to do that, you're going to have to upgrade your subconscious mind. You're going to have to imprint a new consciousness. And in order to do that, there's some things that you're going to have to do. Start by turning off the damn news. Number one, you're going to have to self-talk differently. All right? This is how you're going to create confidence. This is how you're going to create discipline. This is how you're going to create focus. There has to be a regimen that specifically speaks to your subconscious mind. There has to be. Now, once we begin to pull back those layers of your subconscious mind, now what happens is you begin to be able to tap into that divinity, that greatness, that genius, that brilliance, your intuition. Now you'll listen to your intuition and surrender to your intuition and take action based on what your intuition is telling you. Your intuition is a quote-unquote voice of God, but it's your voice. That's the intuition, your divine self, your higher self that's never incorrect. But we don't listen to it because we have the programming. So we're going to remove those layers, give you the key, so you can open that door. You can crack it. Then you can open it a little more. Then you can open it a little more. And then all of a sudden, that door is wide open. Now, for some people, it might take a month. For some people, it might take 3 months. For some people, it might take a year. But I guarantee you, it won't take you the 30 or 40 years that you've been suffering from your past trauma, your fears, and the many other attributes that's keeping people a shell of themselves.
Yeah. I got a tweet question for you. Eddie wants to know, it says, will you ask Brother Siddiqui what portion of black youth are prepared for this? And it's eoboric and AI era. I'm not familiar with the eoboric, but it says what portion of black youth are prepared?
Well, as far as the black youth, from the standpoint of understanding the technology, they're prepared. From a standpoint of understanding the true purpose of technology, from the governmental's perspective, they're not prepared. The understanding that they are the original technology and the power of them being the original technology, the archetype to the different types of AI and external technologies, all right? That they don't understand. But, you know, that's what we're working on. And listen, I need people to understand I'm not against technology. I'm not against AI. I'm not against that. It should mirror us. It should mirror us as spiritual beings, all right? It should mirror us, meaning it should be used to assist us in our spiritual pursuits, our spiritual development, our spiritual growth, and things of that nature. Not be used and seen as the archetype, which most people see it now in the reverse, all right? Because it's addictive, the programming, all of those different things. Listen, when I was growing up, AI We wasn't dealing with AI. We was out playing in nature. We was getting butterflies and all the things that you do in nature as a young child. We were doing those things, playing in the dirt. All right. We were creating superheroes and things of that nature. We were mimicking our own archetypes. That's what we were doing. Now, these children don't want to go outside. They want to stay on the tablet or the computer or whatever it is that they're doing. Now, listen, adults, understand if this technology is taking you out of your mind into the virtual world, what do you think it's doing to your children? And what do you think your children are interfacing with in the virtual world, or what is also called the brain internet and things of that nature, Wi-Fi interface? Because what's happening is now you're interfacing with these different types of virtual technologies. All right. Again, the original internet is us. The original virtual reality is us. All right. That's us. We were the ones who was in the stars, in the cosmos, dealing with the universe, dealing with nature, dealing with the elements, dealing with the animals. That was us. That's our archetype. Overstanding that power.
And you know, we're coming up on a break, and Eddie, I guess his message was autocorrect, because he really wants to find out about our young people are prepared for the robotics era and AI era, because you know a lot of these jobs that have been lost, and they're not going to come back.
Right.
A lot of our young people out there now looking for employment, their jobs are going to be replaced by robots. And I guess his question is, what portion of the black youth are prepared for this, and what are they doing?
Okay.
And I tell you what, hold your response, because we got to take a short break, as I mentioned. When we come back, I'll let you respond to Eddie's question. Folks, you want to join us? Reach out.
They're prepared to deal with that technology, because what's happened over the generations, they've genetically been oriented to deal with the technology. So the babies are coming out able to deal with the technology. All right. My baby's 2 years old, able to deal with technology if they were allowed to. So it was just something that's innate in them, because, again, that's the genetic disposition based over time, all right? So they're prepared to deal with the technology itself, all right? But this is the thing in regards to the youth, and I don't want to be overly critical, but this is the truth, all right? And part of that has to do with, of course, their parents and their parents and so on and so forth. So what happens is there is this disposition to instant gratification, all right? Instant gratification. That is an issue. Not wanting to go through the process. Entitlement. Those types of things. And a lot of that has to do with the entertainment culture and, you know, the industry and those types of things. That's played a role on that as well, because they're tapped into that. Now, what we're going to have to deal with is, we know STEM and STEAM is what people talk about. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. All right? But at the end of the day, if those people, those children in that paradigm is being shifted and moved towards the system itself, well, how does that help us? So at some point, we have to make sure that our youth understand, in having these abilities and having these gifts and being able to deal with technology and other things at the level that they're able to do it at a much younger age, that there has to be self-reliance. There has to be self-determination. Those things have to happen. And even if it means you go into a certain situation for a short period of time, so you can be able to get back to the major number one vision, which is our people, which is us. All right? That has to be, the line has to be drawn in the sand. All right? At some point, that has to be the point. That has to be the purpose. Now, I don't know if my generation has done a great job as a whole in making sure that that's instilled in the youth. And I can speak for myself, but for all of us as a generation, I don't know if we've successfully done what needs to be done. So there's a lot of work that we still have to do. But the youth, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. All right? We just have to make sure that that is directed properly. Okay? So those are the things that we're going to be dealing with the youth. They're definitely looking at us. And that's why I take a very strong position when it comes to self-reliance, self-determination, things of that nature. I'm an example for that, just so people understand. So I'm not just talking. I live this. I don't work for someone. I wake up when I want to wake up. I go to bed when I want to go to bed. I create what I desire to create. I manifest what I desire to create. I put value on myself. No one puts a value on me or a price on me. Let's be very clear. I publish my own work. All right? No one can tell me what to write. All right? So that's my path. That's my journey. I stay in it. All right? So we need more of that. I'm doing my best to assist the people who, are ready and who make the decision if they want to be in their divinity. They want to be in a higher level essence of consciousness, meta knowledge, meta wisdom, things of that nature. I do my best to assist those people. That's what it's about for me. I've been able to get to a certain level, so now it's about assisting other people to get to that level or even beyond. While I still
let me move on here, Brother Siddiqui, in the essence of time, though. I want you to tie this all together. How does this, all that you're teaching us today, what does this have to do with the attack? Because we're being constantly attacked, not only from the outside, but sometimes from the inside as well. So how do we deal with it?
Right. Again, well, the best way to deal with it, first and foremost, and I'm staunch about this, the best way to deal with it is to first deal with yourself. All right. But let me, as far as the people in general, a general sense, the police terrorism, the attacks, they're going to spread that enough. You don't need to. When you're spreading those videos, putting those videos in people's inboxes and things of that nature, what you are doing is you are assisting in perpetuating the fear-based programming and the emotional programming. Understand something. There is a history of triggering black people in this country. All right? They understand that. Those triggers are cemented in the subconscious mind. That victimization is cemented in the subconscious mind. So those things are easily triggered. Stress is easily triggered. Fear is easily triggered. Past traumas are easily triggered. All right? So what they're doing is they're playing on those programs, all right, that they created intentionally. PSYOPs programming, just look it up, do the studies on it. What PSYOPs programming is, it's tons of things that are tentacles to the PSYOPs program. All right, we can do a whole show just on PSYOPs programming. So anyway, to get back to the point, the first thing we have to do is change our mindset. Now, this is something that's been said for decades. It's happening slowly. We need a momentum. We need it to be more expansive, all right? Now, it doesn't take a whole lot of people, but it's going to take some serious people. But once the mindset starts changing, everything changes, socially, politically. When we look at all the different areas of human experience or people activity that Millie Fuller and Francis Cresswell talk about, when the mindset changes, all of those areas change, all right? And I always say, each area, add an asterisk and put technology next to it, because all those areas are ran by technology now. And then add an area, which would be the 10th area, which is technology in its own area, all right? And that's with all respect to Millie Fuller and Francis Cresswell. I stand on their shoulders, all right? So that's what we need to understand. So if people want solutions, look in the mirror first and foremost. Start there. And then when we start talking about solutions outside of ourselves, all right, when we get to that point, we can sit at the table, do the things that we need to do the planning without the ego being involved, all right, without European mindsets being involved, all right, without bringing other people in the room that do not need to be in the room, those types of things. All right? And let me say this for the listeners too, because this needs to be said. When we're dealing with us, we need to deal with us. First and foremost, stop bringing other people to the table. All right? Let white folks deal with white folks. Those are their people. So if they have an issue with what's going on, go deal with your people. That's what we need, because this is what happens. When they come in a room with us, because of the programming, what most of our people do is already capitulate to them. So what happens is it ends up being their agenda instead of our agenda. Just based on programming, if you understand how the mind works. All right? So if we want to be solution-oriented, well, first start with changing yourself. Or not even changing yourself. Just tapping back into your greater self. Again, that's going to take some time. It's not overnight. You've been programmed this way for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So we have to do the work. We want to get out here and do things without doing the work. We have to do the work. But that's what all these distractions are for. To keep people, deter people from doing the work. You don't have time to yourself because you're at work for 8, 10, 12 hours. Then when you come home, you got to deal with the babies. You got to do homework. You got to cook. You got to do all these different things. Then by that time, it's time to go to bed. When you waking up the next morning, you got to get the children ready for school, or you got to go to work, or all of the above. Where's the time for yourself? You're giving all of your time and your energy to something else. And if that is what you're doing, you're going to, at some point, you're going to become a victim to that reality, to that vision, that system's vision, or someone else's vision. You're going to become a victim to that. You're going to become a slave to that. And by default, you're assisting them in their reality and their vision.
Let me ask you this, though. How much of this is educational? How much of this, for people who understand what you're saying, because it seems like the people who are easily manipulated, and I don't mean this in an elitist way, they're at the high school or lower level, and this is what the research has shown as the supporters of 45, that they're at that's where his rock is for his support. Mm-hmm. But anything, they have a hard time, probably like himself, and I'm going to say that, comprehending anything else. Do you think it's an educational issue here?
So let me go here. So education means many different things. First of all, who is educated? Number one. Where is this knowledge, so to speak, coming from? Is it true knowledge?
All right. I tell you what, hang on a sec, because, this is really deep. I want you to break that down, and we've got a short break coming up. So, because people look at education different, and I'm glad you went there. Folks, you want to join us in this discussion with our brother, Siddiqui Bakari? He's a futuristic researcher. Reach out to us. Folks, I guess this brother, Siddiqui Bakari, he's a futuristic researcher based in Los Angeles, and, breaking down the different aspects of artificial intelligence, AI, things like 5D consciousness, 5G, 7G technology, transhumanism, and all of this other stuff, spiritual technology. But the point of people understanding what you're saying, and because it seems like the people who are easily manipulated, and again, I don't mean in an elitist way, because Bob Marley had a better way of saying it. He says some people feel the rain, some other people just get wet. They have problems comprehending what they hear the words, but they're not really understanding. So. And I approach it in a way of education. So I want you to break that down, because you started to do that right before we left for the break.
Well, education means many different things, and even an example that you just gave, it speaks to an innate, intuitive type of intelligence versus what people view as intelligence, meaning cognitive, brain, that type of thing. And even in dealing with intelligence, what's the purpose for the intelligence, right? Or education. What's the purpose for the education? Is it to truly give you true knowledge, wisdom, or is it to manipulate you? Is it intentionally to be false? What is the purpose of the education? Oftentimes, people never answer that question or ask that question. Now, let me say this, as far as education is concerned. Is it important? Sure, it's important. But I would not say it's any more important than that innate intelligence that we have within us. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm talking about intuition. All right. I'm talking about the imagination. All right. I'm also talking about the type of intelligence when I can see a person. I don't need to be educated on that person. I don't need to know anything about that person. I can see a person and I know that person's spirit. See, that's a different type of intelligence that they can't teach you. And that's the type of intelligence that they don't want you to be tapped into. Because then you will be able to see through the traps and through the illusions and things of that nature. And to be able to do that has nothing to do with sitting in a classroom at Yale University. All right? To be able to do that has to do with you sitting in with yourself in meditation, in stillness, in visualization, into your intuition, into your imagination. That is the intelligence that people are intentionally and specifically being moved away from, because that is the intelligence that will free us. Okay? That's what we need to understand. I don't need to know 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 2,000 years of history about a certain group of people when I can look at the people or the person and already know what's in that person's spirit. We have to get to that type of education and intelligence, all right? That is what we have to get to. When we get there, things will change in a way that many of us may not be able to see or be able to fathom. Carl, this empowered system.
All right, hold that thought right there before you go any further. How do we get there? Because some people have issues deciphering what you're talking about, that third eye. You know, how do we get there for those folks who are having issues? You know, discerning, like if people have negative energy when they're around you, and you just don't pick it up. You don't pick it up in their spirit. But other people have figured a way how to do it. For the people who don't know how to do that, give us some advice.
Well, first and foremost, there has to be a change in pathology, behavior, what you read, if you're watching things, what you're watching, how you interface with yourself. How do you treat yourself? Do you love yourself? You have to love yourself. So get into that love type of vibration and environment. There's certain things that you can do, exercises and drills, and those are the things that I've been able to master through my own personal work and working with other people. So we know that these things work. We know the results. We know all of those things, whether we're working with whichever part of your beingness that we need to work with, whether that's the fear-based, whether that's the subconscious mind, whether that's intuition, whether that's the imagination, whether it's the third eye, whatever it is we need to unlock. We have the capabilities to unlock it, all right? And Carl, for those who are interested, you can contact me. You're contacting me for one or two reasons, because you would like to be part of the Empowered Technology Mastery System, meaning you work with me one-on-one, all right? It's a monthly system, all right? You're contacting me for that, or you're contacting me for the I have a 7-book package, all right? So you're contacting me for that 7-book package, physical books or digital books. You can contact me either on Facebook, Siddiqui Bakari, Sadiki Bakari. Just contact me on Facebook, or you can email me. It's my name as well, Siddiqui, Sadiki Bakari. That's one word, Siddiqui Bakari at hotmail.com. Those are the two reasons you're contacting me. So, Carl, everyone listening has that ability, and I want to make it clear. Everyone listening, you have the ability to be the things that you think about yourself being. You have the ability to do it. Everyone listening has a certain type of genius in them. They have certain gifts in them. Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing how to pull those gifts out of ourselves, all right? And that's a process, but everyone has it, all right? We've just been so manipulated and so programmed into thinking that we have to just deal with the same old paradigm, the same old belief systems, and we get stuck in that mode of reality. When you can switch it and shift it It only takes a thought. And then you move on that thought, and your life can change. You work with me one-on-one, your life will change. People can attest to that. If you work with me one-on-one, you do the program itself, and you infuse yourself into the program, so it's not just me telling you what to do. You're actively part of this program, and we work together. You will get the results as long as you do the work. So each and every one listening, you have the power to do that.
I hear that. But do you first have to acknowledge that you need or want to achieve a change? Because a lot of people, you know, like Dr. Welsing says, they're only looking for a better spot in the system of racism, white supremacy. Change is hard for them, you know. So how do you leave those the ones you leave behind, or do you try to convince them?
Listen, anyone who thinks that the system is the answer definitely is getting left behind. Let's make that very clear. As far as how I'm moving forward and the people that I deal with, definitely. Anyone who purports that type of reality, that type of victimization, whichever part of the system that a person is talking about, anyone who purports that ultimately ends up an enemy of what we ultimately plan to do as far as self-determination, self-reliance, ascension, all of these different types of things. I understand people have to work. I get it. If you are working, you should be using that to help our people. If you're working in corporate America, you should be using that to help our people. Or at the least, to make sure that you're helping yourself, meaning you're using it to get the type of knowledge that you need, the transformation that you need, to set up whatever you're setting up for your children and those types of things. You should have a plan. That should not be your end game, is to work until you're 70 years old or 64, whatever it is, and to get a retirement. And I'm not speaking against that if that's what someone wants to do. But for us to move forward, that cannot be the end game.
Right.
If that is where we are right now. And that's no disrespect to the ancestors.
Right. And I want you to tie this all together now, why we're under attack, and explain to the audience, you know, why we're under attack. We're under attack from the outside and sometimes from the inside. And what can we do? Because, you know, we're all about solutions, and because we know what our problems are. We waste the time talking about our problems. This, we can't get this, or someone wants to let us do this. And part of the problem, sometimes we're in our own way. But explain what we can do and how this all relates to what's going on, the attack that we're under.
So we, you, us, we're under attack because of who you are. See, everyone knows who we are except us in general. They know exactly who you are. They know who your ancestors are. Notice I didn't say were. They know who your ancestors are. Okay? They know that you are your ancestors. All right? So the solution is, or solutions, because it's not a solution. Solutions are for you to go back to your ancestors. Embrace them. Embrace their spirit. Embrace their rituals. Embrace their traditions. Embrace their sigils. Embrace their symbols. Embrace all of it. Embrace their signs. All right? Embrace all of those things that we no longer embrace as a people because we mimic our enemy who have declared war on us. So when I say enemy, they've declared war on us. So they have made themselves an enemy. All right? So let me make that very clear. There is a war going on. I'm not talking about the white dude standing on the corner. I'm talking about in general, as a system. We do not run that system, period. All right? So I'm keeping it very simple. The solutions, and I'm going to keep saying it, you are the solution. The longer we keep looking for solutions outside of ourselves, instead of understanding that you are part of the solution. So
all right, hold that thought right there, because we're going to take another short break. And when you come back, break that down, because some people are wondering, again, those ones who are pointing fingers and I can't get this done, or this person doesn't like me, all this other stuff. explain how they are the solution. Folks, you want to join this great conversation with Brother Siddiqui, reach out. And thanks for staying with us, folks. I guess his futuristic researcher, Brother Siddiqui Bakar. We'll get back to him in a moment. Let me just remind you, in the next few days, you're going to hear from the head of the Universal African Peoples Organization, Brother Zaki Baruti, is based in St. Louis. Also, medical and holistic Dr. Alim was going to give us an update on COVID-19 or coronavirus, and world traveler Dr. Renoka Rashidi is going to be here. So if you're in the DMV, keep your radio locked right here on 1450 WOL. All right, let's go back to Brother Siddiqui. Brother Siddiqui, I'm going to let you finish your thought.
Yeah, so let me break it down like this. Each person is responsible for their own responsibility and accountability regarding their beings. All right? Now, if a person comes to the table with me, that person needs to come to the table whole. That person needs to come to the table in his or her power. That person needs to come to the table with confidence, high self-esteem, lack of not having insecurity. That person needs to come to the table with that. That's how you move in power, to come to the table whole. Now, in order to come to the table whole, there are some things that individuals have to first deal with. Because based on this system, by default, there's already certain issues that a person is going to have. All right? So by working on themselves, they now prepare themselves to be in an environment of a group environment or an environment to deal with unity or to come together and now to make plans and to do certain things. All right? But that starts at home. And I think this is where we continue to drop the ball, because what happens is we get in these environments, in these rooms, we get at these tables, and people are coming with all of their ills, okay? And that's the issue. They're coming with fear-based programming. They're coming with a victim mindset. They're coming with the lack consciousness, all right? You have people who want to deal with finances and economics who have lack consciousness, who don't understand abundance and prosperity, okay? You have people coming to the table want to talk about war and military who aren't fearless. So these are things that have to be taken care of first and foremost within that individual. Wholeness. They have to come to the table whole. That's where the transformation is going to come. That's where the unity is going to come. That's where the ascension is going to come. Again, we're at step one. And I don't know if people have a false sense of reality and where we are. We're at step one. People are more ingrained in this system now than ever before. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but this is the reality. This fear-based programming that's going on right now, it's real. The mind control, it's real. All right? So these are things that people are going to have to deal with. And those who are not willing to deal with it, well, they won't be at the table. They won't be part of the process. All right? Because all they're going to do is be a distraction. We want to limit distractions.
Right. You mentioned the fear and the mind control. So what is the end game of the people who are instilling the fear and controlling our minds? What is it they want to achieve?
Okay, what they want to achieve is what they've been achieving, and that is mindless clones and robots who don't ask questions, who take them at their word, who watch the news all day and think that they're actually being, quote-unquote, educated, right? That's what they want. They want people like that who questions the people like us. They want those people who, they create those people who call us conspiracy theorists, right? Something that they themselves created, the term, and the reality behind it. So that's the purpose of the different aspects of PSYOPs programming and mind control, whether it's through media, all right, and their influence. Of course, we know that influence is to program emotions, thoughts, reasoning, behavior. Then there's other aspects, the people area activity aspects, right? Politics, religion, so on and so forth. So it's being ran through all of those different areas, all right? So people are being affected by, if not one, a majority of those areas, if not all of those areas. So the purpose, again, is to create fear, to program the subconscious mind, to create controlled, to have the ability to create controlled opposition, all right? That's something that's very serious right now. They're making you think that the Democrats and Republicans are enemies, and they are not enemies. This is all to show people on that hamster wheel. Listen, to go down the rabbit hole, you got to go up the spinal cord. I'm going to say it again. To go down the rabbit hole, you have to go up the spinal cord. All right? So what I'm telling you is you have to be ready for the high sciences, the gnosis, and things of that nature if you're going to go down a rabbit hole. Because what's going to happen is your entire reality or illusion is going to be shook. All right? So what are they doing? PsyOps programming, distraction, the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, double speak, cognitive dissonance, new age programming, victim consciousness, Stockholm syndrome, menticide. They're using charismatics, people who are excellent at speaking and able to program you through speech and voice inflection and things of that nature. So it's a lot going on. But most importantly, time to go inside yourself. Cut the TV off. Cut it off. Cut everything off unless it's going to serve you a purpose. Listen to this show. But other than that, cut these things off. Give yourself stillness. Give yourself silence. Give yourself peace so you can listen to your innate self, the quote-unquote God in you, the divinity in you, because it's still there. And if you will slow down for a minute, you will be reminded.
Right. You know what, Brother Sadiq, Neely Fuller says the same thing. He says, we talk too much. You know, we have nothing good to say, just to shut up. Basically, that was his recommendation. But let me ask you this, though. What happens when people reach that moment which you've been teaching and they finally recognize and understand or overstand, as you say, what you've been teaching them? What's their reaction and what's your reaction when that moment we reach that moment?
It's wonderful. It's just a wonderful reality when you can see people have these breakthroughs, right? When you see these life-changing experience take place in someone's life, when you see them make the type of decisions that are decisions that make them self-sufficient, that are decisions that have them working towards a higher level of success as they define it. When you start seeing these things, it's just amazing. It's amazing to see people working on themselves and constantly staying in an environment of self-mastery. It's just constantly, evolving and transforming and transmuting back into their greater self, back into their divinity. Because we wasn't born with any of this. We wasn't born with any of this fear-based programming. We wasn't born with any of this, unless the mother was, had certain things going on with her, and that could be transferred to the baby. But in general, we weren't born with, all of these old paradigms and old neural pathways and these imprinted thoughts and ideas and fear and trauma and unwarranted emotionalism.
Now, once you learn what you teach, can you teach that to other people, or do they still have to come back to you as the master teacher? Or can they, once they've mastered it, can they pass on the information to their family and friends?
Oh, absolutely. Even before they master it, they're able to pass that information on, that knowledge on, those tools, those exercises. Because this is what happens. What happens is in order to imprint a new consciousness or upgrade the consciousness, that takes repetition. That takes a new pathology, discipline, things of that nature. So they're doing things so much that, it just becomes like waking up in the morning. So they're able to do certain things with people to train and do all these different types of things. At my seminars, my students and clients train all the time. Before all of this COVID-19. If I would have to go out of town or something, one of the students could still train and do the training or whatever the class, the weekly training, whatever the situation would be. So it's very duplicatable. And this is what I'm saying. It works because I specifically created it first and foremost for us. So it works. I know it works. I went through the process myself.
Well, let me ask you this. A lot of people who are in the sunken place, they don't know they're in the sunken place. They think they're real cool.
Right.
In fact, they think they're super smart, and you put a label on it and they say that's them. They think they're woke, but they're still way down in the sunken place. How do you bring them out of that?
I don't attempt to. That's not part of my vision. That's not part of my mission. That's not part of my purpose. Someone else can do that and waste their time if they want to. Like I said earlier in the show, that person has to make a decision. Now, if that person in the sunken place gets to a point where they make a decision, I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this. Something has to change. And then they come to me, I know how to deal with them. But they have to make the decision. There has to be a shift in their consciousness for that doorway to be open. Until that happens, nothing I can do for them. I'm not here to convince people of anything.
So tell us how long do these courses last? Because people, we're in the microwave era, as you know, Brother Siddiqui. Right. They figure they can talk to you one day, and all of a sudden they're woke and they're smarter than everybody else. So explain the process.
Yeah, that's not going to work. So this is the process. I have clients that's been clients for almost a year now. I have clients that's been clients for months. They're going to have the most success. However, it also depends on where a person is at, because there's different levels of consciousness and how people come to me and where they're at. And depending on their life, their past, what they've experienced, what types of traumas, those types of things. Some traumas are more serious than other traumas, what type of fears they have, and overcoming them, those types of things. So it depends on the person. However, it's monthly, all right? So a person will have a consultation with me every week, all right? And the importance of the one-on-one means they have access to. So you have access to.
I tell you what, hang on a sec, because we got a coffee and we're racing the clock. Ao's calling from South Carolina. Ao, real quick, a question for Brother Siddiqui or a comment?
Great show, Brother Siddiqui. I wanted to add this, that the intuitive nature, the imagination will not be set free until the mind is open to the potential that can be reached. You cannot do the impossible if you don't think the impossible can be done. Right. I just wanted to add that, brother. Hey, Siddiqui, it's always good, man.
Thank you, brother. Right on point.
Thanks, Ao.
He's right on point. Yeah, he's right on point.
All right. As I mentioned, we're racing the clock. So how can folks who want to get more information, what do they have to do, Brother Siddiqui?
Yeah, just contact me on Facebook, Siddiqui Bakari, SADIKI, just inbox me. Or you can email me, Siddiqui, SADIKI, BAKARI, Siddiqui Bakari, one word, at hotmail.com. Siddiqui Bakari at hotmail.com. That's for the Empowered Mastery System of Consultations, or